Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Luke Dawkins01 YouTube channel. First and foremost, I just want to apologize because I haven't posted in a very long time. The reason for this is because I was blessed enough to recently buy a home. Yay! Which is really cool, but of course along with that comes the moving process, the moving in process, and all the other things that come along with that. I also got a puppy recently. He's cool, don't get me wrong. But of course, when you have a baby version of anything, they're going to take a lot of attention. And honestly, it's really freaking hard to try and record one of these videos because then I have to put him up, which means he's going to scream his head off. But luckily right now he's taking a nap. So now that we got it out of the way, let's go ahead and get on to the point of this entire video. I'm going to be listing off my top 10 favorite superheroes of all time. Without any further introduction, let's go ahead and get that started. Coming in at number 10 on my top 10 favorite superheroes of all time list. This one may make some people a little upset because of how low he actually technically is on this list. My number 10 is going to be the Man of Steel, Superman himself. Of course, the reason I said a lot of people are going to kind of kick back against this one, so to speak, is Superman's probably on a lot of people's top 10 as their number one overall superhero. And I get it. He's a representation of hope across all superhero platforms. He's an extremely strong character, one of the most powerful superheroes in existence. He constantly fights for the realm of good and justice, so much so that a popular thing recently has become the anti-evil Superman approach we've seen with people like Homelander, Omni-Man, so on and so forth, where Superman's such a polarizing character for the good that now they've created this entire niche of villains that are the complete opposite of him, of course. And of course, DC has done this in their own right, of course, with characters like Ultraman and Justice Superman. The list goes on and on, truthfully. He's an iconic character, and because of that, people are going to move and kind of do with him as they please. But getting back to the list itself, the reason that Superman is number 10 on my list, a lot of people say that he is a boring character. I don't agree with that at all. My only complaint with Superman, and it's not even truly a complaint because he is a superhero after all, is I feel like they just were like, let's just make him super. Let's make him the most superhero of all time. Let's give him every ability under the sun. And to me, sometimes that in itself can be a little annoying, not because of him himself. Don't get me wrong. My gripe with Superman, if I had to summarize it up, my gripe with Superman, and the reason he's not higher on this list, isn't because he's super. My gripe with Superman is that he's so super that his fan base is delusional. They're delusional. They have no inkling in their mind that Superman could ever lose a fight to anybody, even though we've seen it happen on numerous occasions. A Superman fan is honestly one of the most annoying people of all time. It's like, I like the Philadelphia Eagles football team. I like Saquon Barkley. I like Jalen Hurts. I love Jason Kelce when he was on the team. But oh my God, a Philadelphia Eagle fan is one of the most annoying fan bases in the entire world. I like Superman. I don't like his fan base, and because of that, it drops him down. If you don't like Superman and you want to read a good Superman comic, I have it somewhere. Oh, it's right there in the corner. All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman is such an awesome collection of comics. Go read that. It will change your mind on Superman. It will show you what the essence of his character is. Superman's an awesome character, but like I said, because of the fan base, he's going to drop down to number 10 for me. Number 9 on my list is going to be John Johns himself, the Martian Manhunter. To be fair, before I get into it, I do want to admit that one of the reasons why I do like him so much, contrary to my reason kind of for not liking Superman, Martian Manhunter has a crap ton of abilities. Dude, he's OP. Telekinesis, flight, strength, durability, shape-shifting. Dude, this guy's insane. He honestly is. The thing that I think he does better than Superman, since obviously I have 10 Superman, 9 Martian Manhunter, is I think he does the alien from another world gimmick a little better. And of course that is due in fact to he looks like a Martian. He just looks like a green alien. And because of that, people treat him differently. I think there's actually an Injustice panel somewhere where it essentially says 2 aliens and you always trusted the one that looked more like you. And I feel like that just kind of sums up Martian Manhunter really well. He's an extremely powerful, extremely compassionate character for being an alien, almost a down-to-earth character for a character not born on Earth. But at the same time, there's this almost kind of like this stigma about him. Like, dude, you look like an alien. But at the same time, he's probably easily one of the most strongest Justice League members. In my opinion, he probably could go toe-to-toe with and probably beat Superman at least half the time. Dude, Martian Manhunter is just simply that guy. I feel robbed that we didn't get to see a live-action version of him. We kind of did with Zack Snyder's, the Snyder cut of the Justice League and everything. But that almost felt kind of like a tease. Like, oh, look what could have been. Now it's gone. It's gone forever. You'll never see it again. So I'm really hoping with James Gunn obviously being in charge of the DCEU now, I hope we get to see a Martian Manhunter sometime in the future so that fans, much like myself, can understand why they need to love him so much. All right, my number 8 character is going to be Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood. I have a tendency to like the darker, edgier version of superheroes sometimes. Obviously, you have, for example, if you were to take it outside of this universe example, you have Sonic and Shadow. I like Shadow. You have Goku and Vegeta. I like Vegeta. Naruto, Sasuke. I like Sasuke. Jason Todd is just kind of like the black sheep of that Batman family. He's done and broke the Batman no-killing rule, feels like countless times. He has one of probably the darkest but also most compelling backstories of all time with, of course, the Joker crowbarring him to death and feeling like Batman left him, Batman deserted him, Batman did not help him in that time of need. If you want to see an amazing story with the Red Hood in it, I would recommend watching Batman Under the Red Hood. Dude, that is a fine piece of animated storytelling. So good. And also my man Jensen Ackles voices Red Hood in that appearance, so it only makes him dramatically better. I feel like anything Jensen Ackles touches turns into gold at some point. But yeah, Jason Todd is just such an amazing character to me. He acts as a contrast to the rest of the Batman family while still being this lovable character. He's snarky. He's built like a freaking tank, by the way. I don't know his exact measurements off the top of my head, but I know he's shorter than Batman, but I'm pretty sure he weighs more than Batman. Dude is built like a Panzer tank. He's insane. And also at the same time, he uses guns. And if you use guns, that, makes you cooler a little bit as far as comic books go, So yeah, number 8, I have Jason Todd. Number 7 for me, and honestly, I flipped between 7 and 8 here. Honestly, they could be interchangeable at this time. It's actually going to be Dick Grayson. And I know I said that normally I like the darker, edgier counterparts. And I guess if you were to think about it technically, Jason Todd may more so act as the darker counterpart to Nightwing in some maybe situations that you can think of. But honestly, Nightwing, and it might be because I grew up with this character in a couple sense. The OG Teen Titans show, of course, that was Dick Grayson. And I got to kind of see a glimpse in that show of when he turns into the Nightwing character. And even though that's a very 90s mullet version of that character, as a kid, I was like, dude, this is so cool. And then obviously other iterations of that character as well, such as like Young Justice, things like that. And also, props to my man Dick Grayson, he pulled Starfire. Like, as a kid watching that Teen Titans show, I was like, bro, I'm only 10 years old. Starfire got me feeling some type of way. And my man Robin just pulled that. Props. And obviously, as you jump into the more adult shows, like, I guess, Young Justice, and then obviously the comic books, Starfire is represented in a much different way. And Robin still pulls her there as well. I think there's a whole fan base out there, so to speak, that would unanimously agree that Starfire is probably one of the most attractive comic book characters of all time. I'm not really going to get into that. I'm not really going to touch that. But, yeah, Dick Grayson, he's an acrobat. Obviously, he has a very compelling backstory as well because of his acrobatics and his family dying. The original Robin, it doesn't get too much better than that. Obviously, I give some respect to Tim Drake. I give some respect to Damian Wayne. But in terms of Robins, Dick Grayson up here, Jason Todd right maybe here, just a little sliver beneath him. So yeah, I got Dick Grayson at number 7. Number 6 for me, and this is when we start getting into characters that honestly, there's about the next 3 to 4 characters, decimal percentages that they're separated by. Number 6 for me, and honestly I'm surprised he's this low on the list, is going to be Wolverine. Jumping back into the, I just really like dark anti-heroes. Sometimes I think they're kind of a vibe. Sometimes, especially with a character as well done and with such a rich history like the Wolverine. We saw him go through the Weapon X process. We've seen him go on numerous missions with the X-Men. We've seen him do his own thing from time to time. On top of that, he's just such a cool character. I mean, Wolverine's probably one of the most beloved characters of all time, due in part probably to his representation by Hugh Jackman in all of those X-Men movies. One thing about the X-Men movies, I didn't always love them. They weren't always my favorite thing in the entire world. But seeing Hugh Jackman just absolutely rage out and slice some dudes up, pure cinema. Like, amazing. It's hard to top a Hugh Jackman screaming at the top of his lungs Wolverine portrayal. It becomes even funnier once you realize that all Hugh Jackman really wants to do is just dance on stage. That's all he really wants to do. He just wants to be a Broadway guy. And you take, I don't know, like lighthearted Broadway guy and make him one of the darkest anti-heroes of all time. At least in terms of representation. And it's like, oh, this worked out really well, actually. But yeah, Wolverine, dude, like he trained the Black Widow. His healing factor is one of the best in comic book history. His powers are so incredibly simple. It's literally just like, what if this dude had knives built into his body? He had a really hard skeleton and he healed. And you're like, perfect. That sounds like one of the greatest superheroes of all time. He's such a simple idea. But holy crap, is he cool. Like, if y'all watched the X-Men 97 show recently, there's just some moments in there where you're like, yep, he's just as cool as I remember him. And he always will be. You know, Deadpool and Wolverine introduced us to introduce some people to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And for some of us, many of us, we got to saw him on the big screen another time. And hopefully we might even see it again sometime soon, even though I do want to see what the MCU does do with Wolverine. I would like to see someone like a Taron Egerton, perhaps a shorter but still pretty stocky guy, play Wolverine. I think he'd do a great job with it. But of course, if you just keep giving us Hugh Jackman until he's 70 years old, I don't think any of us are really going to complain until he starts to look a little wrinkly, you know what I mean? Number 5 for me, and again, like I said, from Wolverine to 2 or 3 places from here, they're kind of interchangeable. We have Thor. I want to preface this. While I think Chris Hemsworth did an amazing job in some movies representing Thor, and he does look very Odin's son in terms of his overall appearance, some of his movies and some of the representations that he brought to Thor made him not Thor. He made him sometimes the goofiest, almost cringiest character, more so with Thor Love and Thunder, even though I will say technically I don't think that's Chris Hemsworth's fault. That's much more director issues. But like I said, when Chris Hemsworth really jumps into the Thor role and you actually get a comic accurate demeanor of the God of Thunder, I think he does a great job with that. Funny enough, I think one of the coolest times I've seen Chris Hemsworth really jump into the role is the final fight from Avengers Endgame, which is ironic because that is when, according to Marvel Comics, he looks the least like Thor. According to, Norse mythology, he looked the most like Thor he's ever looked. But in terms of Marvel comic accuracy, which of course the MCU should always be shooting for, furthest they've ever been away from it. But just his stoic, serious, just like, there he is, let's go beat the crap out of him.
kill him properly this time.
That's probably one of the best it's ever been. Thor 1, a little goofy sometimes, not my favorite. Thor 2, The Dark World, was an absolute dumpster fire. Ragnarok jumped into the silly side of Thor, maybe a little bit too much, but for that movie specifically, it worked out. And then Thor: Love and Thunder can just crawl in a hole and die. I hate that. Literally might be my least favorite movie MCU's ever done. It might be because my expectations for the movie were up here, and then they showed me a sushi god. But yeah, I feel like I've spent a lot of time talking about why I don't love MCU Thor. Comic book Thor is awesome. He's a hulking, extremely intimidating character. So much so that it's like if Thor rolls up on the scene, there's only a handful of guys that can really like take him out. You know, I feel like recently Sentry, the character of Sentry, and thanks to the Thunderbolts movie, has received a lot of attention. Thor's taken him out. Like, Thor consistently shows that he's at and even slightly above Sentry's level. Thor is an absolute powerhouse of a hero. Jumping back to my number 10 slot, I think he could take out Superman. I really do. That's just my opinion, but that's where I stand on it. Number 5 for me is Odinson. Number 4 on my slot, and according to some people probably very drastically low as well, is one of the top 3 most popular superheroes of all time. I believe he's actually technically number 1, Spider-Man. It's hard, especially when you're a child like I was watching the Tobey Maguire movies, to not find Spider-Man just extremely relatable. He's this kid who has basically nothing figured out. He's, in some situations, or a lot of situations rather, a social outcast. He's just the smart kid at school that no one really glances at more than once unless they're trying to beat him up. And then all of a sudden, due to random luck or random misfortune, whichever one you deem it, he gets granted spider powers, and he turns into the amazing, the spectacular, the whatever you want to call him, Spider-Man, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's honestly just one of the most iconic and most lovable characters of all time. I think in terms of the 3 big live-action characters that have played him, or actors rather that have played him, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, I think everyone's hit the mark in different ways. I don't think we've had a bad live-action Spider-Man in terms of the movies themselves. Then obviously you throw, even though this is more Miles Morales, you throw things like the Amazing, or not the Amazing, but Into the Spider-Verse and those movies. Spider-Man's just honestly such a lovable character. Dude, like, how do you not love Peter Parker? You know, even the PS5 Spider-Man games. Some of the best superhero video games I've ever played. Like, up there with some of the Arkham video games. Peter Parker is just such a relatable, lovable, iconic character. It's impossible to have a valid superhero list without him being at least in the top 5. Honestly, if you even said top 3, that would kind of invalidate my list, but I'd understand. Spider-Man is just that amazing of a hero, and if it weren't some of my personal choices, I could easily slip him into the top 3. Very, very easily. Spider-Man is just simply one of the superhero goats. He just really is. It's weird because I'm hearing that in the next Spider-Man movie we're getting with Tom Holland, for some reason they're making another multiverse movie. It's like, yeah, for sure. The last thing MCU fans wanted was a street-level, true to the character Spider-Man movie. That just sounds terrible. Why would we ever want that? Why would we not want to see him fly through the multiverse and fight Hulk? Because apparently he's going to fight Hulk. You know, I feel like we just got kind of our fill with Hulk fighting with the Red Hulk, you know, Captain America movie. But hey, Kevin Feige, I guess we're just living in your world, bro. All right, number 3 for me is going to be The Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader, Batman. Batman is... How do you even properly describe Batman? I feel like he's the pinnacle of my love for those darker heroes. I wouldn't necessarily call Batman an anti-hero because, of course, he doesn't like people, unless, of course, he's played by Ben Affleck. But he's just such an intimidating, dark character, and then you get reminded of the fact that he doesn't have powers. He's one of the greatest superheroes of all time without being super. He's insane. It's just his IQ, his battle IQ, his combat skills, his prep time make him so amazing. And I do want to point out, because I did put Superman down at number 10 because of this, Batman's fan base does kind of suck. The reason that I said prep time, like I did, prep time, is because that's the only argument that a Batman fan will ever have. You're like, all right, Batman versus Thanos, who wins? And you're like, well, if Batman has prep time, it's like, no, random encounter. It's like, nah, he would have known about him. He would have been prepping his arm. Why am I Sylvester Stallone? Hey, it's me, Batman. All right, that'd be. Can you imagine Sylvester Stallone as Batman? First of all, that would be one of the funniest things. That would be like Pete Holmes level when he plays Batman funny. It's Adrian. It's like, dude, what's wrong? Where is she? That would be the worst thing of all time. Speaking of worst things of all time, of course, there have been some very, very bad Batman portrayals. I'm thinking, of course, of George Clooney and the Batnips. There have been some rough Batman portrayals, but there's also been some amazing Batman portrayals. Of course, Christian Bale's Batman is iconic. I mentioned Jensen Ackles earlier when I was talking about Red Hood. Anything Jensen Ackles, I'll repeat it again, anything Jensen Ackles touches is going to be gold. So when he's played Batman, voiced him rather, it's been amazing. Cast him, James Gunn, for the love of everything Cape Crusader. Cast Jensen Ackles as Batman. Please, just throw. I know you don't know me. Hi, James Gunn. My name is Luke. Throw me a bone here. Just throw me a bone. Cast Jensen Ackles as Batman. It's all I ask. He's already played him in Supernatural, kind of. He pretty much nailed the character. He's done such an amazing job. Just cast him as Batman, please. All right. Now that I'm done talking to James Gunn, very nice to meet you. Back to Batman himself. God, he's so cool. He's so cool. There's so many amazing Batman stories out there. As much as people complain about the Ben Affleck Batman, and I kind of complained about him earlier too, that opening scene of Batman versus Superman when the cop is walking through that mansion or that dilapidated building or whatever, and Batman is just like in the corner staring at him, and then he crawls on the ceiling. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. That was so cool. That was so cool. That was Batman. Robert Pattinson also did an amazing job with Batman. The Twilight guy. The Twilight. Who knew the Twilight guy would be good at playing someone influenced by bats? No clue. But yeah, Batman, easy top 3 for me. Entering into my top 2, I have at number 2, The Incredible Hulk. If you would have asked me, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, who was my favorite superhero, I would have told you The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk, it kind of touches on that dark superhero thing again. He's just he's a walking nuclear bomb with the biggest biceps you've ever seen in your life. He's such a cool, intimidating character. Like, if the Incredible Hulk walks up on you, however tall he is, it doesn't matter, and you look up at this big, green, angry machine, you're going to crap your pants. You're gonna poop your pants. Like, he's such a cool character. The whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing they got going on there. The internal dialogue we see sometimes in the comics. The multiple different iterations of the Hulk, whatever it is, whether it's World War Hulk, Fractured Sun Hulk, Joe Fixit, whatever it is, Doc Green, Maestro, whatever it is, it's normally pretty freaking awesome. The reason Hulk is no longer number 1 for me is because the MCU ruined him. MCU ruined him. And I know I shouldn't be as easily influenced, but since he is a depiction of the Hulk in very mainstream media, it hurt my soul. It really did. It made me so sad to see the Hulk a husk, a fractured shell of what he used to be. Dude, like, I get it. You wanted to give a smart Hulk, but you made him suck. He sucks. It's just green Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo needs to stay Bruce Banner. Hulk needs to be Hulk Smash. Hulk needs to be what he was in Avengers 1 when he punched that alien thing and it just flipped up over and you're like, dang, this dude's strong. Hulk was so scary in Avengers 1. Do you remember that scene where he was chasing Black Widow through the helicarrier and Black Widow was shaking? She was so terrified. Peak Hulk. Peak Hulk. Ever since Avengers 1, Hulk has went, he sucks now. Hulk is number 2 for me, even though the MCU kind of ruined him. And number 1 for me, and honestly, if you've popped in on my TikTok lives or even really kind of paid attention in a couple of my TikTok videos, at some point you could have guessed who my number 1 was. He is my main in Marvel Rivals. I love him. His name is Steve Rogers, Captain America. Steve Rogers, to me, is what it means to be a superhero. Steve Rogers is, of course, peak above human levels of strength, speed, durability, healing, but he's not super duper. You know, he's not Man of Steel Superman. He's not hulking green monster. He's not this untouchable hero, but he is probably the bravest of all of them. He is absolute in his morals of right and wrong. There are no areas in which he would not lay his life down to save another. He is the pinnacle of what it means to me to be a hero. He is bravery, he is justice, he is patriotism. He's such an amazing character. And honestly, one of the things that makes him so awesome is he consistently, and this is kind of like Batman, he consistently punches above his weight class. He defeats heroes that he should not be defeating. I mean, just one thing comes to mind, and this is the Ultimate Universe, but he did take out Hank Pym when he was Giant Man. He's consistently punching above his weight class in terms of characters that should just shrug him off, but he doesn't care. If you want to see the epitome of Captain America, if you haven't watched this movie, where you been? But Avengers Endgame, when he is staring down Thanos' entire army with a broken shield, Thanos staring him in the face, all of his little minions and his monsters staring down Captain America. He's the last one standing, and he tightens his shield up and he gets ready to go. A losing battle by every means, but he is not going to quit. He's going to keep going. He will persist. He will be the bravest and greatest superhero of all time. I love Captain America. Love him, love him, love him. It doesn't matter if it's comics, if it's animated, if it's live action, if it's Chris Evans. I don't care. It's always going to be peak. Captain America is amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, I apologize for the lack of content recently, but I'll promise you I'll get it rolling. You guys, drop your top 10 in the comments. Let me know who your favorite superheroes are. Let me know if we share some of the same favorite superheroes. Let me know what you would change about my list. Just talk to me, guys. Let me know, you know. But again, thank y'all watching, and I will see you guys next time.